Namaste. So today we're going to be looking at the different types of headaches that are specific to in the individual's Panch Mahabhautik Prakriti. So starting with the Vayavya Prakriti, if we think about the macrocosm, we have oxygen, which is predominant and is a big part of the genetic makeup for this Prakriti. They thrive in higher pH environments, and generally the triggers are skin sensitivity. And for this Prakriti, foods to favor consist of carrots, celery, and almonds. And the reason is because of the rasa, which is the exothermic reaction. So if we think of these things, they are predominantly lavana rasa, which essentially means it helps to neutralize saltiness. And if we look at the Guravadi gunas, meaning the action, it has a heating action. And generally for Vayavya Prakriti, the environment they would like to be in is a warm environment or with sunlight, they feel better. And generally, when there is an imbalance, there are food cravings. And for the Vayavya Prakriti, generally it consists of popcorn or eggs or olives or mustard. And then the virya of these, which is the active molecule, is magnesium. So generally, there may be a deficiency of some sort. And so that's why those types of food cravings come up. And if we think about the endothermic reaction, it also stays lavana, which it's still neutralizing the saltiness. And again, heating in nature, ushna. And for Vayavya Prakriti, the Agni is affected, specifically the Ranjaka Agni, which is important in processing of the neuroreceptors. And generally, before the onset of a headache, there are certain mood swings. So for Vayavya Prakriti, they are generally hyperactive or feel restless. In the body, they sense some bloating. And in the mind, they may feel like they have brain fog. And this Shirashoola is called Vatika Shirashoola, which essentially is an exertional type of headache. Sometimes Vatas just can't control the pace. They move fast, think fast, do things fast, and they tend to overexert themselves. And so the dravya which would be helpful is Shatavari. Shatavari is the choice because of its karma, which is shamana, pacifying in nature. So that is the Panchamahabhautik profile for the Vatika headache or Shirashoola. Next, we'll jump to the Akasha Prakriti. So the macromolecules predominant, hydrogen, again, a little bit neutral, pH is what they thrive in. And the Vikriti triggers are generally noise sensitivity. So that's an indicator before any type of further symptoms might come on. Foods to favor for the Akasha Prakriti is greens, blueberries, and seeds. And the rasa is kattu, which helps to neutralize acidity and just maintain that pH. So the Gurvadi gunas is tikshna, penetrating in nature. And the environmental cravings tend to be just needing some space or getting some fresh air. They already start to feel a little bit better. And the food cravings, generally, when there's imbalance, start to crave hot sauce, soda, meat, lemon heads. So these are the things that help them satisfy that rasa craving. And it's the vidya or active molecules or iron is really what they may be deficient in or craving substances that are rich in iron. And the vipaka, the endothermic reaction, is tikta, so it helps to neutralize bitterness. And the Guruvadi gunas is Shita. It helps to extract. And the Agni that's generally affected is Brajaka Agni. And this is important in the processing of the subtle particles for the Akasha Prakriti. And the mood, first, before any kind of Shirashoola comes on, generally you can see them stressed or confused. They may experience some regurgitation in terms of the body. On the mind, they tend to be very hard on themselves. And the type of Shirashoola they're prone to is Surya Vata, which is, can be worse in sunlight or generally is a tension type of headache. And the dravyas that are helpful for this Akasha Prakriti is Vidarikanda because of the karma, the action, which is Anulomana. It helps to regulate. So that is for the Akasha Prakriti. Next, we have the Apya Prakriti. So the macromolecules present or predominant are phosphorus, generally also a pretty neutral pH, but can be triggered by moisture sensitivity. So the damp environments or rainy days, they may just not be feeling those or may be prone to more headache during those times or even seasons. And the food to favor for this Apya Prakriti is bell pepper, oranges, mango. And that's because they're Kashayan quality. They help to neutralize the metallicity. And then the Guruvadi Gunas, the action is it has a drawing action. And then the environmental cravings, generally, they feel better with just some fresh air, breeze, and the food cravings that they might get when imbalanced are a craving for cookies, just becoming a cookie monster. Been there, done that. It could be milk, cheese, yogurt. So these kind of cravings and are indicative of sodium, perhaps a deficiency. So in order to help balance that out, the aforementioned items help to balance and neutralize the sweetness, which is produced during the endothermic reaction by eating those food cravings that we mentioned. And then we have the Guruvadi Gunas. It's descending snigdha in nature, so helps to just draw things down. And the Agni affected is Alochika Agni, which is really important in processing the stimuli. And generally, before the onset of the Shirashoola for Apya Prakriti, the mood is kind of dull, just feeling unimpressed, feeling low appetite in the body, in the mind, just feeling indifferent, like I could go that way, I could go that way, don't really care, don't really have a preference. And the Shirashoola associated with this Prakriti is Ardhava Bedaka, which is more like a splitting headache. It could also be a sinus headache due to all that moisture. And then the Dravya of choice here is Nirgundi. Next, we have the Tejasa Prakriti. So the macromolecules predominant are carbon, a little bit lower in pH, triggers of light sensitivity, and they favor, or it's good to favor, rice, corn, and different squashes are helpful for Tejasa Prakriti. And it is because of the Amla Rasa, it helps to neutralize the tartness. And it also has the Vishada or clearing type of action, which is important for the Tejasa Prakriti. The environment they thrive or would help them, feel better is moonlight or breeze as well. So even just turning on the fan or getting some fresh breeze outside. The food cravings they tend to have when imbalanced are strawberries, bread, carb loading, OJ, or even sweet tarts. And this is because of the active molecules. There could be a deficiency in calcium. And the vipak or endothermic reaction is lavana, which helps to neutralize the saltiness. and it has a heating nature. And the Agni affected is Sadhaka Agni, which is important in processing of the neurohormones. And the mood generally that comes on before the headache is they act a little savage or feisty. And in the body, they can experience a little bit of burning or discomfort in the stomach. The mind just feels super irritable. And the Shirashoola associated with this Prakriti is Paitika, which is more like a migraine type of Shirashoola. And the Dravya of choice would be Ashwagandha. And it has a Shodhana, detoxifying type of action. And lastly, we have the Parthiva Prakriti. The macromolecules predominant are nitrogen. They thrive in a little bit of lower pH environment and are triggered by smells, very sensitive to smells. Food to favor for this Prakriti is quinoa, tangerine, spinach. Those are all helpful because of the rasa, madhura rasa, which helps to neutralize the sweetness. And then we have the Guruvadi Gunas, the action, a descending type of action, which helps in grounding, and also the environment is helpful. Just walking on the grass or laying down on the grass, having distance, seeing in the distance. That's always helpful when in balance. This Parthiva Prakriti craves chips, donuts, cookies, ice cream, and generally they are lacking in potassium. And so the endothermic reaction, when the vipaka is taking place, it helps to neutralize tartness. And the Guruvadi Gunas is Ruksha, drying. And the Agni affected is Pachaka Agni, which helps to process the gross particles. And the mood before the headache or Shirashoola comes on is generally sarcastic, or they're just a boner killer. And the body, indigestion, mind, feeling lethargic. And this Shirashoola associated with the Parthiva Prakriti is Kaphaja, or cluster type of headaches. And the Dravya, which is helpful, is Vidanga. And that's because it helps with the Vedana karma, which is a differentiating type of action. And so with that, thank you for tuning in.